What's up, guys? Welcome to the breakdown of the Highwayman in Darkest Dungeon 2. In this video, we'll be going over three main sections: roles, skills, and builds. Roles will be a general overview of Highwayman, going over his strengths and weaknesses. Skills will be a rundown of every combat skill, explaining them in detail and providing personal opinions on each. With builds, I'll go over a couple possible build options, focusing on building around the two unique hero paths for Highwaymen. My name is Park Attack. Let's get going. Highwayman is arguably the most well-rounded damage dealer in the game. With an arsenal of melee and ranged attacks, mobile and stationary attacks, damage over time and flat damage, Highwayman can fit into any party. The two hero paths available to Highwayman are Rogue, which prioritizes fighting in the front two ranks, and Sharpshot, which amplifies ranged attacks. Both are damage dealing roles, and both are equally viable. When not building specifically around a hero path, Highwayman can still easily play ranged, melee, or any combination of the two, as he's well equipped for any of them. Aside from dealing damage, Highwayman doesn't have any party buffs, but he does have a few self buffs, as well as a few ways to debuff enemies and apply combo tokens. Highwayman's biggest glaring weakness is the fact that he has no means to heal or stress heal himself. He does have ways to apply dodge and block tokens to increase his survivability, but if you want to be playing him in the front ranks, he's going to need some support. Bringing along one or two healers is a must because of this, but chances are you are already going to do that anyways. Wicked Slice is a melee attack that can be used from the front three ranks and can target the front two. With 6 to 9 damage and a crit rate of 20% when upgraded, right off the bat, this is a very solid damage dealing attack. Add to that the utility of ignoring 30% death blow resistance, and you've got yourself a great skill. Although it can only reach the front two ranks, this is a no-frills attack that can fit into almost any Highwayman build, with the exception of going strictly ranged. Pistol Shot is a ranged attack that can be used from anywhere except the first rank, and can target every rank except the first as well. This isn't a particularly hard-hitting skill, but its range of use makes it another skill that can fit into basically any build. Even in a melee-focused build, Pistol Shot can be useful, as Highwayman doesn't have any other damaging attacks that can reach rank 4. If there's a combo token present, this attack will also result in a daze with the base version and a stun when upgraded, adding even more value to this already useful skill. Duelist Advance is Highwayman's first mobile skill. It's a melee attack that can be used from anywhere except the first rank, moves him forward one rank, and can target all except the last. The attack itself only deals a moderate amount of damage, but the real value comes from the riposte, which when upgraded grants 3 tokens as well as 1 dodge token. Highwayman's riposte attacks deal 4 to 6 damage, have a crit rate of 10%, and have a 33% chance to add a combo token. With 3 of these charges on one ability use, this skill basically allows him to attack 4 separate times so long as he's being targeted. When added up, this results in a total of 16 to 24 damage on one use, without factoring in any possible crits. While the offensive value of this skill is great, keep in mind that Highwayman doesn't have any self-heals and only has a few ways to bolster his defense, so be sure to have a healer ready. Tracking Shot is a debuff skill that can be used from any rank and can target all ranks except the first. This utility skill doesn't deal any damage, but instead ignores and removes all dodge tokens and adds a combo token. When upgraded, stealth is also ignored and removed, and a debuff is added that doesn't allow the target to gain dodge tokens for 2 turns. While this skill won't always be useful, it can be extremely helpful when facing enemies that consistently apply dodge, such as the cultist cherubs and evangelists. This might not be a skill you want equipped at all times, but if you're headed into a battle with such enemies, it might make things go a little smoother. Take Aim is a self buff that can be used from any rank. This skill removes all blind tokens on Highwaymen and adds a crit token as well as a dodge token. When upgraded, it also adds a speed token alongside a second crit token. At first glance, this might seem like an underwhelming skill, but after some consideration, you might find it more useful than you initially thought. The value here lies in taking a bad situation and turning it into an advantageous one. Blind gives its target a 50% chance to miss their attack, so if you just decide to take your chances with an attack, there's a 50% chance that you won't do anything. If you use Tracking Shot instead, you obviously still won't do any damage this turn, but you will remove the blind and set yourself up for a guaranteed crit next 2 turns. Add to that the dodge and speed tokens and the fact that you can remove multiple stacks of blind with one use, and you can see how this skill starts to look pretty appealing. One last thing to note is that having a blind token to remove isn't a requirement for the skill, so it can be used just for the buffs whenever you want. Point Blank Shot is Highwayman's second mobile skill. It's a range attack that can be used from the first rank and moves him and his target back a rank. This is Highwayman's single hardest hitting skill, dealing 10 to 13 damage when upgraded with a 15% crit rate and adds a combo token to boot. This skill works great with Duelist's Advance as it can be used to move him back and forth between the front 2 ranks for devastating amounts of damage. It also fits well into a range build, as it benefits from range damage boosts and can be used as a way to move him back from the first rank if he ever gets pulled up front. When used with the Rogue hero path, this skill also grants Highwayman a Riposte token, giving him yet another reason to use this skill. Grapeshot Blast is a ranged AoE attack that can be used from every rank except the first and hits the front 2 enemy ranks. This attack only does 4 to 6 damage when upgraded, which even though it hits 2 targets is a little underwhelming. Generally, targeting one enemy at a time to reduce enemy numbers as quickly as possible is the best course of action, and AoE skills tend to do less damage per target since they get the benefit of hitting more than one. Unfortunately, Grapeshot Blast doesn't have any secondary effects, but it's Highwayman's only other ranged attack that can hit the first rank, besides Point Blank Shot, which requires him to also be in rank 1. If you're building him as a ranged attacker, this can be quite valuable, as you might not want him all the way up front. It's also used decently as a way to remove block or dodge tokens, which are commonly seen on enemies in the front 2 ranks, simply by being able to hit 2 targets instead of 1. However, if you're lucky enough to have rolled Highwayman's Sharpshot hero path, Grapeshot Blast will now grant a strength token after use, turning this from a decent skill into a great one. Open Vein is a melee attack that can be used from every rank except the last and can target the front 2 ranks. This is Highwayman's only dot attack, dealing 4 to 6 flat damage with a 10% crit rate and 3 bleed damage per turn once upgraded. If a combo token is present, this will double the bleed effect, dealing 6 damage per turn instead of 3. This, by all means, is a well-rounded attack, but it suffers from one thing, being in direct competition with Wicked Slice. Both skills are melee attacks, both can be used from the same ranks, and both can target the same ranks. Both deal sufficient amounts of damage, Wicked Slice having higher flat damage and crit, but Open Vein dealing more damage overall over a longer period of time. Wicked Slice also has the death blow resistance reduction to consider, so all it really comes down to is which one fits the party best. Of course, you can run them both together too, but because of their similarities, chances are you're going to want to pick one or the other. Double Tap is a ranged attack that can be used from the second and third ranks and can target the same. Although this skill has somewhat of an awkward middle ground range, it can hit very hard in the right circumstances. When an enemy is below 30% health, it deals 30% more damage, and when upgraded, this threshold is bumped up to 50% health. This means that any enemy below half health will be taking 30% more damage from the already respectable 6 to 9 damage of this skill. In normal circumstances, this is pretty strong, but against bosses with big health pools, Highwayman gets a 30% damage increase for the entire bottom half with this skill. On top of that, it ignores 20% death blow resistance, making it that much better for finishing off low health enemies, making this skill all around one of his best. Highway Robbery is a ranged debuff skill that can be used from any rank except the first, can target any rank except the last, and has a 1-turn cooldown. Without being upgraded, this skill is pretty unattractive, as all it really does is destroy 2 positive tokens on the target. When upgraded, however, instead of destroying them, the tokens are stolen, adding them directly to Highwayman. This can be pretty beneficial in certain circumstances, and much like Tracking Shot, ignores dodge tokens as well, ensuring a successful steal as long as he isn't blinded. With the similarities between Highway Robbery and Tracking Shot, Once again, you'll most likely want to pick one of them over the other, rather than running both of them together. Double Cross is a melee attack that can be used from the front 2 ranks and can target the same. This skill only deals 3 to 5 damage with a 5% crit rate when upgraded, but adds a block token to Highwayman and 2 vulnerable tokens to the target. When building a frontline Highwayman, most of the time you'll be weaving forwards and backwards with Duelist Revenge and Point Blank Shot. However, sometimes you'll find it better to wait a turn for the right opportunity to use one of your mobile skills, and that's where Double Cross sees its most value. It can be used to soften up a tough enemy before a big point blank shot, or it can be used to slow down a duelist advance and add another layer of protection. Either way, it might not be a skill that'll be in steady rotation, but it's there when you need it, and it does its job well. Highwayman is an extremely versatile damage dealer, with damage coming from all ranks, reaching all ranks, and coming in several forms. He can be built in any number of ways, and as with all heroes, there isn't ever only 1 or 2 ways to build them. In order to give you a few examples, however, here I'm going to go over a couple of builds based on his 2 unique hero paths, Rogue and Sharpshot. Rogue is an interesting hero path for Highwaymen, as it really encourages fighting in the front ranks, but doesn't necessarily promote only melee. The first thing to notice here is the 50% damage boost for being in rank 1, and the 50% damage reduction for being in the back 2 ranks. What isn't listed here is anything about rank 2, which means that his damage won't be increased or decreased from this rank. The second thing to address is the added effect of Riposte to Point Blank Shot, adding another reason to use this skill if it didn't have enough already. As a rogue, Highwayman is going to naturally gravitate towards the Duelist Advance Point Blank Shot combo, which plays out like this. Duelist Advance will get him up front, whereas Riposte will deal 50% more damage in rank 1. Next turn, Point Blank Shot will benefit from the 50% damage boost, making it hit way harder than it probably needs to, then moves him back a rank where he can rinse and repeat. Besides these 2 skills, Wicked Slice or Open Vein are good options for when you don't want to move. Double Cross can also be utilized here as well, and works especially well in rank 1 by making the front target vulnerable right before landing a big Point Blank Shot next turn. Pistol Shot is a good choice for the range, as it's his only option for damaging rank 4. The last skill you'll want to take here will probably be one of his utility options, such as Take Aim or Highway Robbery. Take Aim is great for this build as it adds a dodge token for survivability alongside its offensive benefits. However, Highway Robbery can also be used to bolster offense or defense by stealing the appropriate tokens from the enemy. As far as teammates go, since Rogue is considered a dancing build because of the high mobility, generally speaking, it pairs well with other dancers. This includes Grave Robber, Jester, and Runaway for other DPS options, and Man-at-Arms and Hellion as tanks. Occultist works really well as a healer in dancing parties, but Plague Doctor can also do the job, as long as she can stay safely in the back, unbothered by the rest of the party members' movement. When it comes to stats, building a Rogue is actually pretty flexible, as any increase in damage will work. Wicked Slice, Open Vein, and Double Cross, along with Duelist Advance and its riposte attacks, are all melee skills that will benefit from melee damage boosts. But Point Blank Shot, Highwayman's single hardest hitting attack, is ranged, and if Pistol Shot is also taken, there's a lot to gain from range attack boosts as well. Of course, you can always go with a combination of the 2, and any other damage increasing effects such as crit are easy picks. After that, the next thing you'll want to look for is anything improving his survivability, such as max HP, defensive token, and dot resistances. This build will turn Highwayman into a tough, frontline fighter that's capable of dealing huge bursts of damage, as well as continually striking back at any enemy that dares to attack him. Sharpshot is Highwayman's other hero path, and as the name suggests, focuses heavily on range damage. Aside from receiving +3 speed, he'll also receive a big 50% damage buff to range attacks and a 50% damage reduction to all melee attacks. This makes it almost pointless to take any melee skills into combat, unless you plan on using them only for their secondary effects. Because of Highwayman's wide selection of offensive skills, you can pretty easily send him into battle with only ranged attacks, and he'll do just fine from any rank. Pistol Shot is always a good choice, as it has the largest range and can reach very respectable damage numbers with the increased range damage boost. In the middle, double tap hits extremely hard, especially on larger enemies and bosses, and provides some death blow resistance reduction, making it easier to finish off certain enemies. For dealing with the front ranks, Grape Shot Blast is at its best here, as it not only benefits from the range damage boost, but also provides Highwayman with a strength token. Another option for frontline damage is opening with a point blank shot, and then keeping it on hand in case he gets unwillingly pulled up front again. Besides these 4 ranged attacks, whatever final utility you like best will work, such as tracking shot, take aim, or highway robbery. Consequently, you can also take one of the melee abilities for their secondary effects, as I mentioned before. Open Vein is a good choice if you want to add a bleed, and Double Cross grants a block token and adds vulnerability, both being viable as support options. For teammates, a Sharp Shot Highwayman can basically work with anyone. In this role, he's best utilized in the middle ranks, so pairing him with another mid-rank DPS hero, such as Runaway or Jester, works best. Hellion or Leper can also be utilized as DPS, as they like to stay up front and can easily stay out of Highwayman's way if he's planted in rank 3. When it comes to tanks, any of them will do fine, as they'll mostly just be sticking to rank 1 and drawing as much fire as possible with their taunt. Plague Doctor is a great choice for healer in this party, as she can not only take on all the healing duties on her own if needed, but she can also buff her party members' damage. When looking at stats, a Sharp Shot wants 2 things: damage and speed. Specifically, you'll want to focus on range damage here, and completely ignore melee damage, further amplifying his 50% boost to range and 50% reduction to melee. Flat damage boosts work just as well as ranged, but usually come in lower amounts, so just stick with whichever one you have that's higher. After damage, speed is your next priority, leaning even more heavily into his hero path traits, which already grant him +3 speed. The focus on speed and damage turns Highwayman into a true glass cannon, with the general strategy being stay back, hit fast, and hit hard. While it might take a while to get off the ground with this build, once it's in full swing, you'll have yourself a hard-hitting carry that can reach any opponent, and will often be able to take them out in one shot. And that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you liked the video, like and subscribe. My name is Park Attack. Peace.